Hello and welcome to another episode of The Living Philosophy. Today we are going to talk about synchronicity, which is a very interesting concept created or discovered by the great psychologist Carl Jung. And synchronicity is one of his more far out kind of conceptions, which really borders into that paranormal kind of a collection of interests that Jung has. So, what is a synchronicity? Well, it's a very simple thing, really. It is and it isn't, I guess. It's when you experience something in your life and it's meaningful. So there's a mirror between the outside experience and your inside experience. So it's like a serendipitous kind of experience where something happens that seems to mirror something that's going on in your life. So kind of like the pathetic fallacy in poetry, where the weather is a mirror for the soul of the poet, or the happenings of the poem. And yeah, I guess it's something you hear a lot about in spiritual groups and circles, and it's something that it seems like when you're on like a spiritual buzz, it does seem like you get these kind of signs from the world and these synchronicitous kind of happenings which feel like there's a conversation going on between you and the universe. Now, personally, I am someone who is very conflicted. There's always been two individuals in me. There's one that's like this skeptical, empirical kind of scientist that is very much like the classical kind of like atheistic, materialistic scientist who sees just a world of gears and matter. And the other individual me, the other sub-personality that is within me is like a very woo-woo spiritual kind of type. So that just believes that everything has meaning, and that the universe is a fundamentally meaningful and alive organism that is constantly in this flux of interaction. So these kind of have a wrestling in me, and sometimes one of them is more prominent and sometimes the other one is more prominent. And synchronicity is that one that goes right down the line, because synchronicity, when I'm in those kind of more spiritual times, am I more identified with that woo-woo kind of personality. It's synchronicities, I'm like, oh yes, this is the path, I'm on the way. Those are undeniable. And then I go through phases of more materialist kind of more, I guess, cynical or practical. I kind of hard to find the right words for that side of things. But in those times, it's not synchronicity, it's confirmation bias. So it's just seeing things, or maybe the reticulator activator system, as is so emphasized in neuro-linguistic programming, which is to say that if I said to you today, how many red cars have you seen? And you would probably have been completely unaware of the red cars that you spotted throughout the day. But now that I've said it to you, it will be in your mind, and some part of your mind will be looking out for red cars, or it'll be taken away at the back of your mind. Oh, there's one, there's two. So you might be more aware of it. So it's that it primes you to find that. And I've had this with numbers. So with significant numbers, if you've ever had a fancy for a particular number and feel like it shows up a lot, well, the more it shows up, the more it will show up, if that makes any sense. And after a while, I guess that's where I begin to sway, is that like, that number seems so meaningful at first, and now it's just like I'm seeing it kind of everywhere, but not in like a meaningful kind of way, but in a kind of kind of way. It's like, maybe it's just because it's on a license plate. That's of course. So it's synchronicity has that kind of like dodgy thing of, can it move towards confirmation bias? But Jung addresses this in his essay on synchronicity, an acausal principle, as he calls it. And he talks about how it's to do with a feeling, and that there's more of a it's not just an external happening. It's got to have that syncing between the external and the internal, and you get that feeling that goes with it. And the tag there, acausal, is very interesting with Jung, because he sees this as a happening in the universe that is separate from causality. So causality is kind of the religion of this modern world, and scientific materialism, because it's everything that happens as a cause and an effect. And what Jung is saying is that it's acausal. It's not that I am causing the weather to be bad. It's not that I am causing these numbers to appear. It's not a causal materialist explanation. It's a completely separate happening. It's not happening within that causal sphere. And if that's confusing, then that's because it is confusing. And yeah, I don't fully understand what he means, but I know that in contrast to causal, he says it's not about cause, it's about meaning, and meaning being more of a subjective thing. So you think of causal being things we observe happening in the objective kind of world, in the shared reality space, whereas with meaning, he means the psychical experience of some kind of meaningful experiences. So we're talking something about more of a feeling, and maybe a concept we could bring in here that might clear it up is a distinction between a materialist universe and a psychical universe. So the materialist universe is the belief that the entire universe is inherent. Matter is what it is. Matter is the fundamental thing. But on the other hand, the psychical universe believes that mind is the fundamental thing, and out of mind comes all of the things. Matter emerges from mind rather than the other way around. And so mind would be constantly over matter, and everything that happens is a mirroring back of some kind of psyche. And this isn't the psyche of an individual. This is to say that the universe itself is psyche. And you could maybe map this over with Heraclitus' idea of the logos, or Parmenides talking about being, or certainly the Lao Tzu talking about the Tao and the way. And this highest principle, this highest nature of reality, the most fundamental nature of reality being mind, and that the universe is, all of this is a creation of mind. So kind of like a simulation, or some kind of a breeding thing out of mind. And we're getting into deep metaphysics here. Anaxagoras would be obviously a big philosopher that talks about this. He talks about nous, mind being the fundamental thing in all things. So really interesting guy, and I'll be doing a video on him, so I'll link that here, because his key thing is talking about mind as being the fundamental reality. And so synchronicity kind of plays into this side of things, of seeing meaningful happenings in the world. And I can give you a very good example because I've experienced one strongly recently. So I've been doing this 100 videos of YouTube in 100 days, and almost halfway through now, and just I've kind of been looking every morning. It's exciting to look at, how many more subscribers, how many more views, what's happening with the channel, what videos are doing well. So just kind of looking at the things and seeing how the channel is growing. And this has been mirrored by something in my external reality. So over the autumnal period, I was walking through there's a little patch of forest nearby, and there was loads of acorns, and I picked a few, and there's very few more satisfying feelings than an acorn just ready to come out of its cup. It's just it's a wonderful feeling. And so I had quite a few acorns, and I was looking. I've tried to plant them in the past, but they haven't taken, and so I was doing more research. So I put them in this bag of soil. Anyway, you don't need to know how to grow acorns, but they germinated in the pouch in the fridge, and I planted the acorns, and they take time to grow as trees do. And so I had 3 of them in this pot in my room, and I was checking them periodically. And then as the channel was starting to grow, I found it was mirrored very much in that time by the growing of the seeds. And so I have them actually here, and you can just see that this is what I wake up to every morning. I have a look over, and even the leaves are starting to grow in now. And it's this thing of like, I look over in the morning, I'm checking how the channel is growing, and then I was checking how these acorns were growing and turning into trees now. So that was like a really, for me, that was very significant. And I even had a dream about it, and Let me just see if I can get that dream up here. So a dream in which I was tending my oak seeds in the garage while on the phone, and I was seeing that 2 of the 3 in the box had fully sprouted with multiple shoots coming up, so I was excited and proud. So I was trying to put one more in that pot. So it's just a simple dream, but I woke up, that was the 23rd of November, so it was kind of early on, just within the first few weeks of the channel, kind of coming along, first 3 weeks. So yeah, it was that experience of like, oh, this growth, and I'm looking at that growth, and the synchronicity there is that for me, I just felt this meaning, because acorns, trees, are something that takes so long to grow, and yet you need to tend them so much when they're young, but later on trees they're amazingly sturdy things. They last for, like, oaks can last hundreds of years, and they're beautiful sturdy things, and their acorns can feed hundreds of squirrels and can create so many more trees, so much more life, and they're the home to so many different insects and provide places for the birds to land and nest, and so they're a real beautiful part of an ecosystem. But the thing is that it's you have to be patient, and it takes time to grow something epic, something mighty. And I guess that's the same with a YouTube channel. That's the same with any real entrepreneurial endeavor, that you have to tend it, you have to give it time before you see any results. Even in the early stages, for them to sprout, it takes so long for anything to happen, and you have to be patient, and you just have to keep looking after them and tending them. So that was an experience of synchronicity for me that was very significant, and it maps over Carl Jung's concept of the meaning. It was a mirror of something in the outside world that mapped over and really reinforced. And I guess the dream was the real sealing of the deal on that, where I think it was actually after the dream that I realized the synchronicity. So yeah, just a really cool example of a synchronicity, and a really good example. So I hope you've enjoyed this exploration of Carl Jung's concept of synchronicity. If you have, please subscribe if you haven't already. Otherwise, I shall see you next time. Thanks for watching.